The KVM adventures continue. The way that I had this relay, this flip-flop relay board originally wired, on all relays there's a common and then there's a normally closed and a normally open. So what that allows you to do is, depending on whether the relay is energized, if it's energized, it'll allow power to go through the normally open, and if it's not energized, the normally closed. So unenergized, normally closed. Now, the reason I did this originally was for if this board failed, it would fail in a allow power to go through if the relay went bad or something went wonky. Well, but that brought up an issue that Kirk brought up was that when he had a power loss at his house, the phone he had connected to his KVM was still powering the KVM, which was a state that he really didn't want it to be in. And so in order to try this out and not breaking this very expensive KVM, is I simply plugged in two Raspberry Pis like normal, and then I disconnected the wall wart, the primary power coming into the KVM. Well, just like your other KVM, this sucked power from the USB ports to power itself. So even though it lost the wall wart, it still powered the rest of it. So I think we would still have this situation where a phone or computer, more likely, would continue to power the device. So it really wasn't off. Because that goes back to the other issue, is when is off not really off. There is always 5 volts coming in from this wall wart, so some of this board always has 5 volts, regardless of what's connected. That's how the relay board gets its power, is it pulls power very early on. Well, what I think will work here is I have switched the relay contact so it's in the normally open position. So this means that if the relay board loses power, in other words, if we lose power at the wall wart, it doesn't matter if the PCs or computers are still up. If we lose it at the wall wart, the relay board is going to lose its power. It'll de-energize, which will turn everything off. Okay, so I think from a power outage standpoint, that's the direction you want. Here's the downside. The downside is that when everything is powered up originally, when you plug in that wall wart, it's in a de-energized state, so you have to trigger this. Having the power switch on in the back, their toggle, is required always, but you're also going to have to trigger this, which means you're going to have your external button hooked up to trigger it. So this is a little bit different than the original video that I showed you, where if you just powered it up without a switch, it would act normal. In this case, it will only turn on if you trigger it. So here I am, I'm going to trigger one of my tests, and you can probably hear the relay click. And that's on. That's off. And the surefire way of telling whether it's on or off is if that display is coming on or off. So I think this solves the power issue. If you lose power, it will truly shut itself down. But on the flip side, you're going to have a switch connected to turn it on to begin with. Now, I could probably do some sort of workaround. I could put another little push button on the back, so when somebody is initially configuring it, they could trigger it from a button on the back. There is a button on the relay board too, but obviously once this is all put together, you can't get at it. So that is where we're at. On the easy to fix thing, their extraordinarily loud buzzer, which is right in there, and remove this board again and put a dollop of hot glue on top of it, and it has made it significantly quieter. And I think that once the cover is back on, it will be far quieter. I mean, the relay is probably louder than the beep now, which is good. Yeah, that's much better. It's still audible, but it's at a very low level. Those buzzers on these KVMs are so loud. So that's where we're at. If this configuration looks good, I can get this out. If we want to try adding another push button on the back, I'll have to tear this thing down again and drill a hole. I'll have to be careful that it's all metal, not to deburr it and whatnot. But not a big deal, but that is what we're looking at right now. Hopefully this video makes some more sense than our endless chats. Talk to you soon.